All right, so I have composer Grant Kirkhope here with me that I'm super excited to talk to. We've never spoken before. I have been a fan of your work since I was in middle school, rocking out to GoldenEye and Banjo Kazooie and all the greats from back then. So Grant Kirkhope, thank you so much for taking some time to chat with me today.
Oh, thanks for asking. It's nice to get the old guy out now and then, isn't it? So yes, thank you very much. I'm glad you like the stuff in the olden days.
I like the new stuff too. I'm not saying I don't like the new stuff too, but
Yeah, I like you often.
yeah, but the Banjo Kazooie stuff is probably a million people have told you that holds a special place in my heart, and I was super excited to see that some of the music and the characters making its way into Smash Brothers too, which is pretty awesome little band.
Yeah, it's kind of.
So
Sorry, your signal keep locking up. Sorry, yes.
okay.
Yeah, no, yeah. Just so like it's funny how that goes. I think when you write music back in 1990, whatever it was, 6 or something, or 95, whatever, I don't know. You never think it's going to last the test of time, especially back in the N64 when it was like pretty rough quality. So,
Yep.
It really genuinely never ceases to amaze me that people still talk about it to this day. And it's very humbling to think that, it's the first game I did by myself, all the sound effects, all the music. So I did GoldenEye with Graham Norgate and a little bit of Robin Beanland. And I did Donkey Kong 2 on the Game Boy, converting Dave Wise's tunes to the Game Boy. But I mean, that was my first game that I did music and sound effects all by myself, So to think that it's got to this point, like 20 odd years later, and people still quite like it, it's bizarre as it is, amazing as it is, fantastic, So yeah, I'm glad you like it.
Yeah, no, and I just saw the adorable painting that was it your daughter that made you of Banjo Kazooie? Do you have it?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean that's really special. I mean, I've got the drawings I get right now of like blob people with like little dashes for eyes. So, but the kid artwork, that's awesome. I mean, you never probably would have thought that 20 years ago that whatever you're working on then is gonna inspire artwork from your children. That's pretty wild.
I know. I never thought I was going to have kids. I suppose by that point, I had a girlfriend, of course, but I probably thought I might be childless and party for the rest of our lives, But that wasn't to be. So, I guess we get older and things change, right? But I think the fact that my kids like it is it's nice, and like they genuinely do like it. I mean, if they hated it, it might be a bit of a problem. But they seem to like the games. My son's 16, my daughter's 13. I mean, Max, my son, has played again most of the games that I've done. Holly does play a little bit. It's I don't know. Those things are all just like you never think you're going to have anything to leave behind, And it's not long going to die soon, hopefully. But it's that thing where I don't know. I always find it hard to put that bit into words. That it's that people remember it or whatever it is, or it stands the test of time, or whatever it happens to be. It's just I feel like I'm not used to that yet. Even though I've done it for 25 years, I still feel like I'm not used to it.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine. So good for you. Good, congrats. That's awesome. I don't even have to wrap my mind around that. I'll let you take care of that. But so yeah, for folks who maybe have not heard like how you originally got into like this industry musically, like I know that I saw that you. Am I correct here? Because there's a couple things that I read and have heard in interviews. One is that you obviously have a love for metal music, and that's like a big source of inspiration for you. But also, you trained on classical trumpet. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So first of all, how did those two roads converge, other than maybe in Grant Kirkhope? But how did like you find yourself on both of those pathways, and then how did you end up getting into video game music in the first place?
So as a kid, I grew up in North Yorkshire in the UK. So I was born in Edinburgh, but I moved out of Edinburgh when I was 5 to England, to a little town called Knaresborough in North Yorkshire. Went to King James School there, and I just started playing recorder as a kid at the junior school. But then when it came to someone brought around a cornet, I said I want to play that, so I started playing cornet. So I did the proper kind of through school doing they're called associated board exams in the UK. You get to grade 8, and that's the top exam, So I did that all the way through school. But when I was about 11 or 12, I started playing guitar. So I was kind of a classically taught trumpet player, but a self-taught guitar player. And I've just graduated towards rock and metal. So I was that's what happened really. So I had that kind of proper school trumpet lessons thing, playing in orchestras on Saturdays, like I used to do, and then playing in rock bands, metal bands with my friends the rest of the time, So it's that kind of two ends of the spectrum. So I ended up going to the Royal Northern College of Music in Manchester to do a 4-year music degree in classical trumpet. Still playing guitar, of course, at that point. And I left when I was 22 and didn't want to play trumpet anymore, really. So I just kind of went home and just signed on to unemployment benefit insurance, you call it over here. Living with my mother, that's what I did. And played in kind of bands off and on, covers bands and stuff in my local towns and all over the place. And I did play in some bigger bands, but I played in bigger bands on trumpet mostly. So because people knew I played trumpet, they're like, well, there's not many long-haired trumpet players not kicking around, right? So I played for a band called Little Angels, who were a big rock band in the UK. They had a #1 album over there, and I played for the tour with Bon Jovi and Van Halen and people like that, and did these big gigantic arena tours and around Europe and all over the place. Played 90,000 seat arenas with Bon Jovi or Van Halen or something like that. It was incredible, great times, Mm-hmm. But that kind of started to wind down because that band split. So I was back to playing in sort of just covers bands in my local pubs to make a living, really. And I kind of thought that's what I'd do for the rest of my life. I'd just be a tramp, basically. I thought I'm not gonna make any money. This is the way it's going to be. But then a friend of mine, Robin Beanland, who was a keyboard player in one of the local bands that I played for, and we were friends, he announced that he'd got a job. And I was like, what? No one that I knew none of my friends got jobs, right? We all just played in covers bands and, signed on unemployment benefit most of the time. That's what we used to do. And then he said to me, look, Greg, he said, I've got a job at Rare. I was like, what's Rare? I said, well, the video games company, I'm going to write music video games. I was like, what, that's a job? You can do that? I said, yeah. I was like, so anyway, off he went. We're all amazed that he got a job, I didn't see him again. I thought it was it. So we stayed in touch. And he sort of said to me, Grant, you've been on unemployment benefit. It was about 11 years, of 22 to 33, quite a long time. Living at home with my mother still. I haven't moved out. I said, why don't you get a job? I said, well, what can I do? He said, well, why don't you try to do what I do? Write music video games. I was like, I don't know how to do that. So I had about £1,000 after my name. Said, look, he recommended some gear. I've got an Atari ST with a meg of RAM. I've got an EU Proteus FX synth module, a copy of Cubase, monitor, what have you, keyboard. Set about writing music and video games. I played a lot of games at the time. I was a big games player, So I sent Rare 5 cassette tapes over the course of that year. It must have been 1994. And didn't get a reply. And then out the blue, I got a letter saying, please come for an interview. And when you come down for the interview, can you please bring with you 3 pieces that you've written? It's like a Mario platform-based piece, a guitar-based fighting piece, and a Batman-style orchestral piece. So I wrote those hastily in about a week. And off I went to the interview. And Dave Wise actually interviewed me with Simon Farmer, who was the general manager of Ray at the time, all the time I was there. And that was on a Friday. And then Monday got a letter saying, got the job. Couldn't believe it. So that was it. I moved down to Twycross in the Midlands from where I lived in Yorkshire. And that was it. Started working at Rare. Couldn't believe it. Completely, if Robert had never suggested it, I'd never have done it. So I kind of feel like it's his fault. I owe him everything. I owe my life because I'm obviously with great mates, but I mean, if he'd never suggested it, I'd never have done it.
It's awesome.
It's a complete fluke.
Now, if it were me in your shoes and I was told to write those 3 pieces, the platformer and the rock piece, the rock fighting game piece, those I feel like having no composition experience, I feel like I would maybe be able to pull off, but then writing an orchestral piece, that would have given me a mild, maybe not even a mild, but a panic attack. So how did you jump into the orchestral stuff, when most of your experience has been, playing in bands and things like that?
I think because of my orchestral, doing the proper classical music degree, when I was at university for those 4 years, I was terrible at harmony, right? I failed the exam 3 years out of 4. You had to pass it to pass the course. And I failed it miserably 3 years out of 4. I mean, really badly. I just didn't understand harmony, composition. I just didn't get it at all. But I used to go and watch the college orchestra rehearse every Tuesday and Thursday, and I never missed it. Those mornings, I was there every day, one of those days for 4 years. I never missed it. So I got to see them doing Firebird and, you know, tons of great orchestral music. And, you know, I can't even think what the bloody things are right now. But like,
Yeah.
you know, so I didn't miss that. And I've been sat in orchestra as a trumpet player for years. You know how it sounded. It didn't seem alien to me. It just seemed like, I know how this sounds. I know how it works. I know what plays what. I know which bits go where. You know, I never found that very difficult. I was a massive Danny Elfman fan at the time, so obviously writing the Batman piece was right up my street. I was like, I know how this works. You know, so I've done it before, so I didn't find that to be threatening at all. And doing the kind of guitar-based rock piece, because they were doing Killer Instinct at the time at Rare. They'd done the first arcade machine. They were working on the second arcade machine, and that's why they wanted a guitar player there to help out the guitar, because they didn't know guitar player at the company at the time. And I played in, you know, tons of metal bands, and so that was easy too. So I didn't find any of that hard, but that was a reason, not because I was brilliant or anything like that, just because I'd sat in orchestra for many years and I knew how it sounded like, you know.
Yeah, I studied voice in college, and actually I had a really hard time as well. I almost got kicked out halfway through. They have like a jury where you like a halfway through your degree, and you have to put on a little mini concert for 12 very classically trained, very conservative professors who I had already rubbed the wrong way. One of the reasons because I was really into video game music and was not quiet about it, and they did not really like that, and saw it as like me not being serious. I was also a little lazy, so I can't really like pin it on them completely. But I got put on probation, and then I had to do a redo, and I passed by the skin of my teeth. There's 11 people that time, and there's 6 yeses and 5 nos to keep me. So, yeah, that was pressure. But again, you know, because I was in the choir, and so that I could really wrap my head around. But then whenever we'd collaborate with an orchestra, I'd sit in there and it'd just be like me, like, it's Disney World. Like, it's just, I'm here for like an amazing magical ride. And so I didn't get that kind of osmosis that probably was helpful there.
Yeah.
But it's awesome. So then, you know, you put the trumpet kind of down and you stayed with the guitar stuff, and you got into the games and stuff like that. And you've worked on a lot of big franchises. I mean, you've worked on, Mario, you worked on Ghostbusters, you know, Sid Meier's Civilization, you've worked on the Ninja Gaiden series, like Mickey Mouse, like all sorts of stuff. Those are really big names and franchises to be trusted with. So first of all, like, that's amazing that you built up that sort of trust and reputation to be trusted with those. But then how do you kind of approach getting into like a world that kind of pre-exists you, and then, you know, kind of put, you know, not only do that world justice, but also bring your own voice to it as well? How do you kind of mentally approach that, and maybe logistically approach that?
You know, I don't know about that. Like, I'm really not a very intellectual composer. I'm really instinctual the way I work, right? I just don't have that kind of deep thought. I mean, maybe I do on another level, I don't know, but like, music just kind of comes out of me the way it does, right? And I think that I often say that, you know, I'm a metal fan, right? So if you hear Brian May play the guitar out of Queen, you know it's him without even knowing it's him, because the way he's got a certain style, right? I think Van Halen, for me, I can spot him a mile away whether I know that the track or not, because he just plays, his vibrato's a certain way, his phrasing's a certain way. And I think any composer just has things they do that they like often enough, like chord sequences or melodies or whatever it is, the way you construct a tune. It just, you know, you get your own signature thing, whether you like it or not. So I think that when I come to like work on Mario, I have to do the Mario theme from the N64 version for the castle theme and use it in Peach's Castle in Mario Rabbids. You know, I just took Koji Kondo's notes and, you know, I split it into bits in that tune. I did a bit of him, bit of me, a bit of him. So just weaved it all together. And you know, you can't help but weave some of your own personality into it. It's just the way you write, I think. I don't think it's intentional. It's just the way I just write things the way I do, and it just sounds like me because I've done it for 25 years. You know, I guess. You know.
Yeah. So you really don't. It sounds like you don't really have like the mental like block that some people might have of like, I've got to like really dissect and research what has come before me. You just kind of like get the material and you go in there and have fun and do your thing. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, like I do think that, you know, I was a staff composer at Rare for 12 years, right? And being a staff composer is was a fantastic way to learn to be a composer, because it was a 9 till 5 job, right? So I took my time in the morning and started writing music. When the clock struck 9, I struck the first note, you know, and I got on with it. And I think it teaches you not to have that writer's block. You just have to. It's a job, right? It's like being on a conveyor belt or whatever you want to call it. You know, doing the garden, whatever it is. You learn to not wait for the hand of the Lord to hand you inspiration in a darkened room, which I never do. You know, I'm very workmanlike. I get on with it. So like, I'll play the first note and I'll play the next note and then I'll get on with the next. That's how I do it every time. It's not like I've got some kind of amazing inspiration from anywhere. I don't work like that. I think that I think a lot of times you kind of, you know, creative types have got to sit in a dark room in the middle of the night and wait for the inspiration. I'm not like that. I think being a staff composer, it was a fantastic training to go. You start at 9 and you finish at 5, and you've got to write music every day for 12 years. You know, that's a training that I like. I'm so glad of that, having that training, because it gets me in that mood. You know.
Yeah, I really actually kind of, now that you mentioned that, I kind of really hate when people characterize like creative pursuits as like sort of that, you know, if you have an epiphany moment where, you know, the lightning strikes, great, that's awesome, but, you know, obviously that's probably not sustainable. And then, you know, if that is sort of the representation of like how great music is made, then, you know, everyone else who wants to get into it is left feeling like I'm either going to be one of the lucky ones and it's going to hit me, or I'm not. When in reality, it's like you got to put in a lot of work. You've got to do work. You've got to be consistent. You got to write and write and write and write. And then, you know, the good stuff comes and some crap stuff comes probably, you know, too. And that's okay.
I think, as you know, us composers these days like to call ourselves media composers. That's our little thing. So we do anything that involves, you know, media. And I think, you know, if you want to go down that path, you have to be prepared to work quickly. You just, sometimes you haven't got the time. Like when I was doing My Rabbids, I played on that game for like 3 years, but I wrote something for it every day without exception. You know, and I was doing ukulele and Ghostbusters and Drop Zone and that movie, The King's Daughter, at the same time. Like, you know, that was a rough couple of years, you know. I wasn't quite expecting that. But I mean, you know, I think that, you know, you just got to do that. You just can't be that. Unless you want to write your own symphony, great. Take 5 years over it, or as long as you want. Or write your pop song, or whatever, it's up to you. But when you're hired by somebody else, you're no different to anybody. You're no different to hire the gardener, the pool guy, the mechanic. It's somebody's hiring you to perform a task, and they want it when they want it, and they want it in the style they want it. They don't want to have you waffle about, say, I don't agree with what you're saying. They don't want to hear that either. They want to go, we want this music like this. We're not bothered about what you think about how it should go. This is how we think it should go. Off you go. Or if you don't want to do it, there's a guy behind you who will do it. We'll fire you and get the next guy. And it's, it is like that. And I really agree with that. I think that if I was to hire someone to do something, I want it the way I'm paying you money. I want it the way I want it to be. And I think, you know, hopefully, as I said before, like I will write music the way I write music. It just sounds like me because any composer's got that thing, right? That's it's a thing. And hopefully they've hired me in the first place because it may be like something I did in the past, you know, maybe, you know, so that softens the blow, but it's not always the way. So I think sometimes composers like people wanting to be in the industry get a very kind of, you know, rose-tinted spectacles of how it should be. And it might not actually be quite like that. It's still a business. You know, it's still something that you have to perform for somebody else that they want to like, you know. So yeah, I waffle on a bit there, but you know, yeah.
Yeah. Now with all those projects going on simultaneously, because a lot of the folks that I talk to through my website are just starting out, so they're working on maybe one project at a time. They're still trying to like kind of get their first gig. So when you get to the point where you've got even 2 or multiple, you know, 4, it sounds like you're working on 4 or 5 at a time. How in the hell do you stay organized from like not only a time perspective, but just from like a musical asset perspective? Like how do you keep yourself organized when you've got all of those different moving pieces within 4 different projects that are moving pieces themselves?
You just jump from fire to fire, right? That's what you have to do. I don't generally work on 5 things at once. That was a particularly odd thing.
Sure.
I kind of scheduled my year out that year, and everything was fitting. Then everyone got delayed, so everyone got crunched up towards the end. So I ended up working all of it at the same time. You know, but I think that even though I don't like it, I think I do work almost better under pressure. I think if I'm lazing about, I prefer to have a real pressure on me to do stuff. I like it like that. My wife says, even my mom about it, she says, I know you like it really, you know. And I think that, and I do work, I've always worked quickly. I speak quickly, I work quickly. I can write stuff quickly, you know, and I, you know, so, you know, I remember getting like 6 or 7 Mario cutscenes in a week. I had to do it by the weekend and I did it. And that was like, you know, I look back and thinking, how the hell did I do that? And I don't know how I did it really, but you know, I think sometimes you've got to perform sometimes, and video games often are things that get crunched up towards the end. And you might not get the cutscenes because you can't really work on a cutscene until it's finished because it's got a lock, right? You've got to write music to the exact picture like a movie, you know. And you've got to wait for those. And the animators are slow and they turn in late, then you just got to wait for it. So I feel like I just can't handle that. I don't know why. I haven't really got any kind of methodology behind it. I just do what the first person asks me to do, then the next person, then I just get on the line until I get and then start again. You know, it's like that. So I don't know. As I say, I'm not the most intellectual of composers, so I just kind of do it as it comes, you know.
But that actually, I mean, you say intellectual, but I mean, I don't think of it as like an intellectual thing so much as like a,
I've got common sense. I think I've got common sense.
No, you know, but I think in like you're not letting your head get in the way. You know, it sounds like you go right forward. You're always going forward, and you're never mentally stopping. You're never second guessing. You just accept the task and you get to work, and then you know you're in the mix, and you're not planning. You're not doing like the analysis by paralysis thing. You're not overthinking. Maybe that's the word I was looking for. You're not overthinking.
I was going to say, I think overthinking. I don't do that.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of times, you know, my first idea is usually my best idea, and if I start messing around with it, it just gets worse. I'm like, so I'm so used to kind of just going, this is a melody, and just doing it, and that's it, and it doesn't change, you know, like that. And often, like, I've done things like that. Those will be the ones that people like the best. Like, it's funny, some things that you spend time over sometimes you really like, people go, huh, it's all right. And the one you did in 5 seconds flat, like, oh, this is amazing, you know. So it's like, I think I've had both of those things happen to me lots of times. So I don't know. It's the way it goes.
Yeah, I remember the first couple attempts I made to try to write something back in college. I guess I dabbled in tried to do like the singer-songwriter thing in high school, but that was mainly because, you know, I had a guitar and, you know, I wanted to be liked. But, you know, later on when I really got into music and sort of laid into my interests a little bit more, the first few times I tried to sit down and write, it was like super stressful for me. It was like me in front of first of all, I did like the really smart thing of loading up the Sibelius full orchestral score when I'd never written a lick in my life. So now I'm like thinking, I'll figure this out, this entire beast of an ensemble. And of course that went horribly for me, but then, you know, I just didn't try for years. And then a few years ago, I just started sort of playing around with it again. And I think now that the pressure's off, where I'm not trying to, you know, find my identity in it. Like, I'm not like in crisis. I'm just like, I kind of like, and it just sort of pours out of me a lot. And I think it's just because I'm maybe in a different place, but also because I feel like the pressure's been removed. And so now I'm not in my own way, which is always interesting to me. And it sounds like you just kind of came out of the gate like that, which is awesome.
Yeah, I feel like the Sibelius sound set isn't great, right? It doesn't sound
great. No, it's not. It's not an encouraging sound set.
No, you can't really massage it very well. Like, you know, if you actually use the actual samples, you'd have a much better job of it. But, you know, looking at it as a score like that, like when I first started writing music, I did look at it, scored it when I first started, because that's what I was used to. But then I use a piano key edit thing. That's what I use now. But it's daunting looking at the score, and it's daunting when you hear the Sibelius sound set, which is pretty crappy. So it sounds awful no matter what you do. Even the best composer is going to sound pretty crappy no matter what, you know. So I think you did all right.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that I didn't even really understand. I remember I took a class where they tried to teach me how to use, I don't remember what digital audio workstation they had me trying to use in college. But I remember just trying to get my head around like MIDI and making it work with the samples was just painful. And it was just I did not have good resources, and I was clearly not intuitive enough to figure it out on my own. But anyways,
I think you learn stuff as you go along with that, right? And I think, you know, there's basic things you learn, like, if you're writing for a brass instrument in MIDI, leave gaps for breath. People forget that, and they'll keep all the notes so they touch the next note. So it just sounds weird because like trumpets don't sound like that. French horns and oboes don't sound like that. There's a little gap between the next note usually, and there's a breath at some point for the next phrase, right? And people make that classic mistake of just playing the whole line all joined together and going, it doesn't sound right. They can't work out, it's simple, like, or the thing where when you're loading your patches up, you load the trumpet ensemble, which has got 3 trumpets in it. Mm-hmm. And you play a chord, so it's 9 trumpets, right? So like, in an orchestra, there's only 3 trumpets, maybe 4 if you're lucky, or 5 occasionally. So you have to learn that you load the solo trumpet patch. And then when you play the chord, it sounds like 3 trumpets. It doesn't sound like 9 trumpets, sounds weird, And there's loads of little tricks like that people don't get because they haven't sat in an orchestra,
Yeah.
And so a lot of times composers who aren't used to orchestra, they might look at the French horn patch, it's got 4 horns in it, play a chord, it's got 6, that's 12 horns. And when they come to record it at the session, it doesn't sound as big because they've only got 4 horns sat there, and they're like, that's why, because you're playing with the ensemble patch in your MIDI arrangement. In real life, you haven't got that many horns unless you're Hans Zimmer, of course, or you can have as many as you want. But like, I think there's lots of little things that you don't get, and I also think that I always say to people, your ears are the most important thing you've got. Like, I think that's the most important part of your head. Like, like if you can hear it, you can write it. So spend time listening to stuff over and over again. Like when I was doing Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning a little while, it was 10 years ago. It was. I listened to the first 3 John Williams Harry Potter scores over and over and over again. Like in the car every morning, in the car on the way home at night. I never changed it for probably 3 or 4 years, and I'm not joking. And I learned so much from listening to that stuff over and over again that eventually it bleeds into your music. Well, I hope it bleeds into. I was trying to get it to bleed. I tried to get it to bleed into my music. But I mean, I think you don't have to know the theory. There's plenty of composers out there that don't know the theory that write great music. So it's nice if you can know it a little bit. I guess it might help you. But if it comes to like, if you're going to go with an orchestra, you just hire an orchestrator, right? He does it for you. So it's all doable. If you've got that melodic harmonic sense, which is, I kind of feel the meat and potatoes of a composer is that write a good tune with a good set of chords. That's the valuable part. The rest of it, you can do it or hire somebody else to do it, right?
Yeah.
The melody and the chords, that's the crux, that's the gold nugget, right?
That is, now to use that as sort of a pivot point here, I feel like that is something that's missing a lot today. And I think it's part of it's because the tools are so accessible now, where any kid with a laptop can download GarageBand and get to work, which is in a way fantastic. I mean, I think that the benefit there really outweighs any sort of, con. But I think that the danger there is that people can get into it without really that foundation of like, you need a tune, you need chords, you need to be able to write a solid, solid tune that would work on piano, by itself. Otherwise, you polish it as much as you want. I guess what I'm trying to say is I hear a lot of people who get these really, well-polished, highly produced tracks, but I can't remember them the next day because there's nothing there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that is my total pet peeve. That's the bee in my bonnet every day. Like, when I go see a movie, I want to remember the music, right? Again, either thing, right? But a lot of things these days sound completely epic and amazing, but are totally unremarkable, and you can't remember a note of it. And I find that really depressing. Like I sometimes wonder whether I'm just an older guy and that it just isn't what people want anymore. But I can't help thinking that, there's that video on the YouTube where the guys wander on the street with a microphone saying, can you sing Harry Potter? Can you sing Star Wars? Can you sing Indiana Jones? Can you sing, and everyone can sing it. And can you sing Thor? No. Can you sing Spider-Man? Can you sing Captain America? No. I like, the Marvel Universe is billions of dollars bigger than, it's gigantic, right? And like, and I do think that the Avengers thing by Al Silvestri, who's a proper old composer, if you like, is memorable. I can remember that, but there's very little else that I can remember from any of the Marvel movies, and I find that depressing. And like, if I'd got that chance to write for a Marvel movie, I would pour my entire existence into making something that was memorable. I am an old school guy, and I do like to have a good tune. I mean, I always think to myself, it is easy to go, here's one finger on a keyboard with some synth patch that sounds amazing by itself. And it is easy to do that. And I kind of feel that when I was back in the N64 days, you didn't have that. You know, all you had was a little MIDI orchestra made inside the machine that was pretty crappy quality. You had to write a good tune and a good set of chords. That's all you had. And a lot of the older guys that I know can write a good tune. A lot of the new guys I know can't, or choose not to. And that it bothers me, that does. And I mean, I really feel like the art form itself, we need to have that John Williams thing where you can remember the bloody tunes, and like I do feel video games in some respect is the last bastion of melody. It just, I think in when I did the Mario game, they asked me for the melodic content over and over and over again. There's 2.5 hours of music in there, and there's nearly a different tune for every piece.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of music, a lot of tunes to write. In a movie these days, you might be lucky if you get one. That really is my pet peeve. Maybe the directors are asking for it, and I keep seeing things about, you don't want to overpower the scene, and I kind of feel if my music's tune's going to overpower your scene, mate, you need to write a better scene.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be like that. Music is, but I kind of feel the images tell the story, and the music tells you how you should feel, happy, sad, angry, whatever it is, right? And I still think that's the case, and it bugs me to distraction that we've got these superpower movies up there that you can't remember a bloody note. It just pisses me off. It really does.
Yeah, I've got I hit that. The reason I kind of scratched that is because I feel the exact same way. And I tell people there's this recording I have from like 2002. I'm a John Mayer fan. I love his guitar playing and his songwriting. And there was this one song I found on like Napster back when that was a thing. And it was, a really crappy audio quality, but it was a fantastic song. And I would listen to that really, really crappy quality song over and over and over again because of the songwriting and the melody was so good and the guitar playing was so good, even though, the guitar playing could barely kind of make it through the quality. I mean, that to me was so much more precious than a fully produced, really high quality recording of a lesser song. And I always tell people you can't polish a turd. So if you can't write a tune, then
we will say shit in, shit out.
Yeah.
I sort of feel that in the pop charts, right, there's never a number one single that's just an ambient track. It doesn't exist. I still honestly believe the average human being, man in the street, woman in the street, still likes to whistle a tune or hum a tune in the head going down the road, right? They're not going to hum some ambient set of chords because they can't, right? There's a reason that Lady Gaga's number one, whatever that is, because she's probably written a good bloody melody. You can remember and sing to yourself, or whistle Harry Potter, or Star Wars, or Christ. I keep quoting John Williams, but equally Danny Elfman, or any of those guys, like Back to the Future. I mean, these amazing movies that got these themes that you can remember till you die. Like I feel like human beings still like that. And I kind of feel like it needs to be remembered that, just
I think it's going to come back. I think it's going to come back around personally, because I think that there's going to be, I think that that's actually one of the reasons why other than the nostalgia, but like the retro game genre, especially like the platformers, I think that one of the reasons why that is still has so much fuel behind it is because the music is, when you have to call upon that same, melodic and the same bar of quality in order to recall the old style of games. And I think that you're kind of forced to have to do that when you are recreating that sort of 8-bit, 16-bit era. And I think that's one of the reasons why it's still so popular and people really like to write for it. But I do think it's going to, I hope anyways, but I really think I'm hopeful that it's going to come back around once people realize that, the technology is there, and it's before the computers start taking over and writing the music for us. We've got people who want to be able to whistle the tune on their way home, and like you said. So to that point, the melody writing for me, that was one thing that always frustrated me to approach, because I feel like all the resources for learning to write a melody, if I needed like an external resource, not just like myself listening to music, but like the craft of sitting down and being able to learn how to write a good melody, I never found a really good resource. I felt like a lot of them were either that thing we talked about earlier, where it's like, be ready to catch the lightning when it comes, and have the notebook by your bed. I can't believe how many times I've heard that and read that in a book of like, keep the notebook by the bed. But do you have any good resources or good like uh, maybe strategies for someone who's never written a melody in their life, but they know that it's important and they want to kind of go down that road?
That's a hard one. Like I don't really know how I do it. I think I find writing melodies like very natural for me. I don't find it to be hard. I might not write a great melody, but I know how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that sometimes you've got to think about that A, B, A, C idea thing, and a little bit. You've got to think about phrasing and all that stuff. Like you got your first little bit and your second little bit, and you compartmentalize. Don't have this big long ambient, not ambient, a big long meandering thing that just goes on forever. No one's going to remember that. You've got your basic 8 bars, 16 bars, whatever it is, and you need to just fill it up. And a good way to do it would be like I haven't really done this, but I know that back in the day, like Haydn and Mozart, I get mixed up which one. But you take the symphony form, let's say it's that, and you strip. Let's say you take your favorite pop song, right? Whatever it is. Let's say it's Ariana Grande or whatever. You take it right, and you work out the sections in the song, and you pull all the music out of it. You're left with a skeleton, and put your stuff in there. So if you go right, she's got a melody that goes from bar 1 to bar 4. I'll take hers out, get rid of her chord sequence, put my chords in and my melody in there, and then copy the next bit and copy the next bit, and then you work out how her writers have done it. She didn't write right. Her writers did right. Or one of your favorite songs.
What? She didn't write it?
No, yeah. I like one of the Beatles songs. One of those classic people that write classic pop songs, or the Rolling Stones, or whatever it could be. If you just you work out what's going on, you take everything out of it, you're left with a skeleton, and put the meat back on the bones that is your meat. And I think that's I know that Haydn did the Mozart, or I'll probably get this completely wrong, but I remember something like that went on in those days to learn symphony form, and I think that's a really great way of working out what's going on. And, work, and then try to write that little short melody. You got to think, da, 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 da. All right, that's it. You've done now. You know who that is, right? That's leitmotif. It's a couple of bars, 1 bar even, Harry Potter. You are, da, 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 like, you are right. And like, just do that. Find that little 4-bar motif thing that you can remember, like that little repeating phrase, and there's also tricks in melody writing, like, so like if you think about E.T., da, 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 so the notes change, but the rhythm doesn't. It's the same rhythm all the way, and almost the opening 3 phrases, but the notes are different. So even though you've changed the melody a little bit, the rhythm's the same, so it reinforces to the listener that motif. It's got the rhythm in it. Again, different notes. Same rhythm again, different notes. Switch it on the 4th phrase, whatever it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there's loads of little tricks like that make melodies memorable. So it's not necessarily the same notes over and over again, but maybe the rhythm's the same. Or maybe the same, maybe the melody's the same, but the rhythm changes. There's tons of little bits like that that I think about sometimes when I'm writing stuff. I think you need to write a catchy melody. You need to have hooks in it, and it's not just the overarching hook. It's each little phrase can be its own little hook. I think that I don't think it's that complicated. I just think that people never look at it like that. And I think once you kind of think about the structure of it, that makes it easier.
Yeah, I do exactly that when I'm teaching someone to write a melody. I just literally just say, let's just use pop song form, just so that it's out of our head, and it's easy, and it's something that and now you can lay out the whole thing, the whole score. If you want to use a score, you can lay out the whole session now, lengthwise. Exactly how long it's got to be, probably. Not that it's the law, but now you've got a rough idea of how many bars you need and where the sections are, and now you don't have to think about that, and you're not just thinking about having to constantly produce new material. That's the other thing I see people make a mistake of, like, if they've got like a 3-minute track, sometimes I get to it and there's so many ideas crammed into the track, where at the end of it, I'm like, I have to listen to that like 3 more times to wrap my head around it, and whether or not there even was a form, just because it was like, they felt the pressure to put like new idea, instead of like, like you said, John Williams and all those other great guys, they would take a piece, 4 bars, and then the mileage that they would get out of those 4 bars is astounding, but then they would like have that idea in a box, and they'd have the next idea in a box, and then they would have a handful of ideas, but then they would just play with those ideas and manipulate those ideas over and over again. It's just really interesting that I think it's just people get so, I don't know, they psych themselves out, or I don't know what it is. It's
Yeah,
tough, but
I think you can overthink it. Definitely, I think music sometimes is sometimes a very natural thing. It just needs to come out of you as it comes out of you. Like sometimes when I'm really writing stuff quickly, or I need to do things, I'll just go, I just need to do the next thing that I think I probably would do without thinking about it. And often you just rattle along, and it's not like you're not trying, but you just think, well, this is what I expect to do next after this sequence. I'll probably do that, and then I'll what I normally do when I write music, and you can get to it quick, and it's just as good, you know. I think sometimes I really try and craft stuff, you know, but I don't know about that. I just do generally mess around until I think it sounds good, and that's basically. I mean, you can overthink it as much as you want, but like just load up your French horn, your clarinet, whatever it is, you know, your guitar, whatever you want to do with it, and mess around with it until you think it sounds good, and then do the next bit. But I mean, I write music like that. I write that section, and then I don't do the overarching front to end. I'll do a bit, and then probably get it all complete onto the next bit, get it all complete onto the next bit, which is probably the wrong way to do things, but that's the way I've always kind of done it.
hey, it's working. So, I mean, I don't think there's a right way. You know, there's just a bunch of different ways. So whatever's working, you know, that's great. I've got a couple more questions for you, and they're a little weird. So they're still on topic. I'm not gonna like go in some really awkward direction or anything.
Yeah.
But I want to ask you too. So this first one is let's say I like to ask this question of anyone I interview. So let's say hypothetically that you've got a contest that you're in, and the prize is $1 million. You've got 2 months to train someone to write a winning video game music score for a game, and they have to win this contest for you both to get $1 million. And all they've got is they know how to play an instrument, and they maybe have some basic knowledge of you know, the DAW, and they know how to use it a little bit. But other than that, they maybe never written anything in their life. So how do you take that person in 2 months, and what would you do if you had to work with someone in 2 months and $1 million on the line to get them to write in a winning game score? What would you focus on?
Yeah, I don't know where to start. I don't know how I'd do that. I guess I need to find out what they knew. I'd have to listen to some good music. You know, listen to some, you know, proper catchy Mario, whatever, Zelda, you know, thing that's obviously super catchy and rememberable forever, or something like that. So they understand, try to understand about the melody and the hook thing. That's important, right? Like, I kind of feel like once you get the bare bones, you can dress it up any way you like. I feel like once you get that meat and potatoes part of it, you're done, really, you know. So I guess something like that. They'd have to mess around with the DAW a bit. If they have to actually put it into a DAW themselves, they need to understand that.
Yeah.
And I kind of think that learning things like, you know, key edit where it's blocks and piano roll, it's understandable, you know, the length of the note, the pitch of the note, all that's, you know, it's pretty easy to understand. You know, and because if I've sat coaching them every day, they can learn about note lengths and not overlapping the brass instruments and that kind of daft thing I said before. But they'd have to learn about how to write a melody. That would be the bit. And I kind of feel sometimes you've either got that or you haven't. I don't know whether that's something you could probably learn by looking at someone else's melody, but you might not know why it's good because you don't understand melody. So I feel without that, you're a loser. I think you're going to have to know or learn about somehow how to write a tune, because you have to write a tune, right? You know.
Yeah.
I mean, unless they sort of said, well, if you try to win a contest, they're going to have to think it's pretty spectacular, right? I think it's pretty good and all that. You know, I would think that in 2 months to learn, if it was orchestral, I think that would be very hard to learn ornamentation on that. But if it's just a general song, I guess that's possible. You might have to write some lyrics, I guess, if it was a song. But if it's a kind of tune, I don't know. I think it would be a tall order, I think. Unless they were musically inclined.
Well, let's say they're musically inclined, and you get them into the DAW, and there's so many different directions you can run in, and unless, you know, once they, you know, one thing that I always find interesting when I ask people about something like mixing, and like those aspects of, like, there's a lot of personal preference in there, but Like, are there any like maybe areas that you would say, don't worry about that right now. Don't waste your time on that.
I do feel that the composer's job has got harder. I think because you're expected to write it, you know, midify it, orchestrate it, you know, then record it, and then, you know, well, just out your door, mix it, master it, the full thing, right? The whole thing is on your plate now. It never used to be, you know.
Yeah.
It's just you've got to be good at everything, you know. And I do think that mixing is a very personal thing, and it's hard, you know. And a lot of the times I'll, you know, run a track next to my track, say there's a piece of jubbins that I like, or Danny Elfman or somebody else that I think sounds great, or whatever, and I'll try and match my track sounds EQ wise all that to their track. I try to do that. I don't think I'm great at that. I'm definitely getting better, but I feel that, you know, that's a tricky thing. That is, it's a hard thing because, especially with like the volume wars these days, with the mastering thing to be super loud and all that kind of stuff. Like, there's a lot of stuff going into the EQ and the limiting and all that nonsense you have to do. Like, you know, I think that it is difficult, and I think that pulling somebody along in 2 months. Because even though you write the piece and it all sounds great, if you're just presenting a recording to somebody, it's got to sound great.
Yeah.
Like, you might have written the best melody harmony in the world, but the mix isn't great. The mastering's off. The EQ sounds crappy. It's muffled. Doesn't sound very clear. That puts people off. I think sometimes composers forget that oftentimes you're handing music to people. They're not musicians. They're just normal man in the street. So they're going to play one track that the guy against you's got he's mastered it great. It's EQ. It sounds it's glistening like the Hollywood scores, right? The unremarkable scores that are sound. And you've got your great tune, great melody, which is way better than that, but it sounds shit because the production quality is crap. You're probably going to leave because the man in the street doesn't get that. And I do feel that, you know, when I demo for stuff, like, some of the lengths people go to in demos, hiring live players, all that, just for a demo, not to get, you know, not even getting the gig, you know, incredible. Like, you wouldn't believe it, you know. So I think that would be a very hard task. But I just kind of feel that, you know, when I started at Rare, I had to write music immediately, right? You know, within the first, never mind month, in the first couple of days, you know. And I'd only done it in my bedroom. But I was musically inclined. So I think if you're musically inclined, you're probably going to be, you know, I played in bands for a lot of years and mixing jazz a little bit. And I'm not great, but a little bit, you know. So I kind of feel that if you've got that degree of that little bit of something in your head to start off with, you're probably going to be all right. If you're completely from scratch, I guess it would be hard.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that there's a lot of, I think there's a lot of pressure now, like you were saying, that like you have to kind of do it all. And I was just, you just reminded me, and I was talking to Austin Wintry last night on a live thing, and we were talking about Chance Thomas. You just reminded me, like he's going all in for Avatar 2. Like he's, yeah. I mean, and like when I read the lengths that he's going to really go for that, it was like, oh my gosh, like I really hope for you that you get it, because otherwise, like that's a lot of like time and effort and money that, you know, it's Avatar 2. He's using, like, you know, material that is from the first movie, so you can't necessarily reuse it either. So it's a lot of pressure.
I do feel like I've done a ton of cold pitching and I haven't got any of it. And I've done shit ton of Disney stuff, DreamWorks, Nickelodeon. I've pitched to all of those guys. I've not got one single piece of work from any of those companies that I pitched for.
Oh, wow.
Even to the point of, I actually knew one of the directors on the cartoon that I was pitching for. So I thought, bloody hell, I know he loved Banjo Kazooie. I thought, I'm going to get this. And I didn't get it. And so I said to him, you know, how many composers do you get? He said, we get like 80 or 90s that submit. And some of them submit 4 or 5 pieces. Like they'll do the demo 4 or 5 times. So that multiplies it. So if you're the guy that gets given 90 composers' reels to sort through to pick the composer you're going to use, Jesus Christ, you're going to get to the first 10 and go, I can't be bothered to go through the other 80. Well,
yeah.
That was all right. You know what I mean? Like, unless you know. So I really feel that. I think Chance has done an admirable thing, but unless you know the or somebody in that in the entourage, the producer, the director, unless you know those guys, I think it's going to be a tough call. I really feel like knowing somebody is as important as being good. I'd say, once you get to a certain level of, like living in LA, there's 8 billion fantastic composers out there that are all better than me, right? You know what I mean? But I think, so the only way that you get past through the noise is by knowing somebody. That networking thing, that is far as important as being good. Because as I say, you get to a certain level, everyone's good. And the only way you're going to get through that is by, somebody that knows you, that can recommend you, or the director, or something like that. Like all the gigs that I've got in my career, bar about one or two, I've got through some tenuous connection. Like Mario Rabbids was a completely cold call. I didn't know any of the guys at Ubisoft Milan or Paris. That was a completely they mailed me through LinkedIn. We've got a gig. Do you want to do it? Yes. Right. But I'd say every other gig I've got, I've probably known somebody somehow that somehow recommended me. Like I haven't got a single job that I've pitched for. Not one.
Wow.
I've sent in music for. No, I've got nowhere on anything. And I know that Austin. I know Austin well, and I know he went all out for the Star Trek gig and spent a lot of money on orchestral demos. You have to know somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I had a story about the Star Trek thing that Austin went for. That they got 800 applicants for that show.
Holy shit!
Something ridiculous. And at the end of the day, the showrunner knew the guy that's got his kids at school or something bizarre like that, and said, "I know him." I don't know if that's true, but I mean, the point being is, I just think that there's a video game composer, media composer is the new rock star these days. Everyone wants to do it.
Yep.
And there's a shit ton of undiscovered people out there who are brilliant, but they just aren't known. I've been doing 25 years, and I'm known for what I do. But it's still hard for me. It's not easy for anybody. It's still hard for the big composers, but they've probably made a lot of money off TV and the past of the rich, right? But I just think that people forget the forest out there that is out there, just full of trees that are all composers, whatever you want to call them. There's just gazillions of them. And it's truly difficult. And that's why I think that you mustn't underestimate the networking factor of anything, but whatever you want to be. But I feel like, and I said a million times, when you get to a certain level, everyone's good. What's going to get you the gig? You just need to know somebody, or meet somebody at a party. I don't know, bump into somebody in a coffee shop. That's how you do it.
Yeah, I was just thinking of, I went to PAX East a few years ago, and I was wearing the Video Game Music Academy shirt that I'm sporting right now, and I was going around just talking to developers and asking them, how they found the composer for their game, and everyone answered it was a friend, or someone on the team had a friend, and a lot of them also went on to say that is the most common email that we get, is composers looking to work for our game, and they get pitched daily. They were saying, which is just crazy. But I didn't hear a single. I think maybe one person out of anyone I've ever asked has said, someone sent me an email and then off we went. But other than that, I knew a guy. I have a friend and she knew someone, something like that.
Yeah, and also I think you've got to think about that is you're going to spend a couple of years with this guy probably, working on a game, movie, whatever, a TV show, and you got to get along, right? So if your friend says to you, "I've got a mate, he's a good lad, he's not an arguer, he'll just and they probably go, oh, let's meet him," and they get along, he's in, and a lot of the times that's the guy that gets the gig. I think sometimes composers forget to be amicable. I think that, you've got to swallow, you've got to swallow your pride, whatever it is. When the guy says to you, "You know what, I just don't like it, can you do it again?" And you're going, "What, are you crazy? This is a fucking awesome piece of music. You're deaf. You can't be like that." You've got to go, "No problem, we'll just do it again." You're not to argue. It's just you're wasting time, because there's too many other guys who'll just do it like that. I have an opinion about what I write, and I think it might be right for what they want, but they might not like it, and I just do it again. I throw it away and start again. Yeah. I think every composer at every level has to do that. The top guys and the bottom guys have to do that. There's no difference. And I think that, a lot of times the guys think, "Well, I'm the composer, I know best." You're just some kind of game designer. What do you know? You can't. That's a waste of time. The guys go, "Really? Well, you're fired. Who's your next guy?"
I know where your paycheck's coming from.
You know what I mean? I just feel like when you're a composer for hire or anything for hire, do what the people hiring you want you to do. Otherwise, you won't be doing it anymore. You know, I do think that. I remember reading by Richard Kraft, who's a very famous agent in LA. Years ago, when I wanted to be a music composer, I typed into the internet how to be a music composer, and he did an interview years ago. Then it's still up there somewhere. I remember him saying something like, directors like the composer to be that funny guy who can have a bit of a laugh, get along with you, be a bit crazy. They like that. They don't want the introvert guy who just sits there and just like, they don't want that guy. They want somebody to laugh with them, they can deal with them easily. It's no problem. They've got 8 million other problems to sort out, producers, actors, you name it, all that other stuff, right? And the composer's not a problem. I mean, when you say change it, you change it, and there's no worries. And they'll use that guy over and over and over and over again because they get along with him. Like John Williams and Steven Spielberg. They get along with great friends. That's how it works. You don't want to be fanning about trying to find another guy that you get along with as well as the guy you've already got. It's too much of a pain in the ass. Unless you really fell out with a guy that you use all the time. I think that you do need to be, even if you're the biggest introvert in the world, a lot of kind of entertainer types and composer types I know, they've got their own home personality, which is like me, miserable, bad mood all the time. I'm just say that. When I go out into I'm like Mr. Jolly, Mr. Happy, and it's all great. I think everyone has that extra personality on top of your real personality that you put on, because people are entertained by that. They want to talk to you when you're like that. They don't want to talk to you when you're the guy in the corner that don't want to talk to anybody. And I know it's hard. Like, going to any event where you don't know anybody and you try to network is bloody difficult. And I find it incredibly hard. Don't get me wrong, by any stretch of the imagination. But you've got to learn to put that, almost like wearing a mask, your entertainer's mask.
Yeah.
You've got to do it. Otherwise you're going to get nowhere.
Yeah, my wife and I have talked about this a lot. Where growing up, I was like I got a lot of attention because I was very social and I was a lot, acting, and I was in the doing the music stuff and I was just a very social guy. But and I still am when I go to an event or when I'm at a party. I'm very I can be very chatty and I love doing things like this where I'm like talking to you. We've never spoken before other than on like Twitter, but I'm really having a great time talking to you. Yeah. And then, but on the flip side of that is that like after like a family party for an hour, I feel like exhausted. Where it's like that is harder for me. I just need to I like my alone time at the end of that day where it's like I need to kind of go retreat to the cave. Otherwise, I'm just gonna, and that's okay. That dichotomy is okay, but I didn't realize that was happening. I didn't realize that I had that. I thought it was just like one or the other, and one of them's broken. But it's really just you kind of flip on and off the switches you need.
I agree. I think it is exhausting. I think when you put yourself that front on you, whatever it is, for 2, 3, 4 hours, you are. By the time you finish, you are worn out, and it's peculiar. You wouldn't think it's that taxing, but I think it really is.
Yeah.
I think it's something that all composers need to do. You need to be just amicable, fun, if you can be, the best you can. People want to interact with those people.
Yeah. I got one more question for you if you've got time.
All
right. So let's pretend again that no contest now, but your grant, you've been reduced to no reputation. You have no connections. You have all the knowledge that you have now, and you've got $500 in a laptop. How would you restart from scratch today with just those resources?
It's a tough one too. I feel like my career path's been slightly different because I spent such a lot of time as a staff composer. I didn't just go out and freelance, from the start, like a lot of other people did.
Sure.
You just have to find a way to get your name out there. And I don't know what, I've said to people, just sticking your stuff up on YouTube doesn't get you anywhere. No one's going to hear it. You have to find a way in. So I usually pick 2 examples of this. So my first example is Danny Baranowski, who's a great friend of mine. I like Danny, great guy, he's a great writer. And he writes great tunes. And he was that guy that just worked in Lowe's and Home Depot and all that and dreamt about being a composer. And wrote music in his spare time and didn't get anywhere. And then he sent a piece in to, funny enough, it was a cover of one of the Perfect Dark pieces. He sent that into OC Remix, and they liked it. And they put it on the site, and the guy that was making Cannibalt heard it, liked it, contacted him and said, "Do you want to write music for Cannibal?" And that kind of kickstarted Danny's career. Cannibal turned into, Band of Isaac, Super Meat Boy, all that kind of thing.
Yep.
That was one path for him. Another guy I know, like Daniel, who wrote C418, who wrote the music for Minecraft. So he got the Minecraft gig because Notch, years before Minecraft or anything, was in a chat room somewhere, sort of saying, looking for a composer. Anyone know anybody? And Daniel was in the chat room, on the computer. I can write tunes for it. Got the gig. Now, Daniel probably is the most followed composer on Twitter, because Minecraft is gigantic, right?
Yeah.
I think of anybody like Michael Giacchino, you name it, Brian Tyler, anybody. I think Daniel has got more followers than anybody. It's 4 times what I've got, whatever. But I mean, those are 2 examples that I often dredge up. I kind of feel there's a way through, but it has to be, you've got to be out there. You've got to go to those game jams, in your city where you think there's 4 people turn up to make a game and you don't like any of them, or, you're the composer. Because turn up to do that thing. I think that you've got to want it more than life itself. I think if you are half-assed or, I like composing, like that, great. But if you really want to make a career out of it, you have to dedicate your entire existence to getting it off the ground. And I guess if that was me starting from scratch, that's what I'd look about. I'd try and find your indie guy somehow, your chat room, your game jam, go to GDC, even though it costs lots of money. Find somebody, because the only vehicle for your music, if you want to be a games composer, is a video game. I kind of feel like lots of times us video game composers write our best scores for unknown games and no one ever hears about it.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right, you're not that great score for a massive video game that everyone likes and loves it. So, it often happens that if the game or the movie or the TV show doesn't do very well, no one's going to hear it. It's difficult like that. I kind of feel like I've heard plenty of composers say, I've got my best score for this thing, and the game sold 5 copies and no one's ever heard it, and they never are going to hear it. And I go on about it every time I do an interview and no one cares. I could talk about, I love the music I wrote for Drop Zone.
Yep.
But the game was out for a little while. The people that owned it went bust or just dropped it. Even though it was doing well, no one hears the Drop Zone music. And that's all synth. I've done a fully synth soundtrack for a long time. I thought, this is going to be great. It's on my website. No one listens to it. And I kind of feel like that's the way it goes. So I think that if you've got to start from scratch, you've got to put your balls on the line, right? You've got to devote every bit of your existence to pushing yourself, because you can bet your bottom dollar the guy next to you is doing that. There is no substitute. And as you get older, it gets harder. Your wife, kids, mortgages, all that shit to worry about, right?
Yeah.
When you're a younger kid, younger lad, in your 20s, whatever it is, you might not have all that responsibility. You can just get on a plane, get on a bus, go somewhere and do something. Sleep on someone's couch. You can do that. When you get older, you don't do that anymore. I don't like sleeping on couches. I'm old. I want to sleep in a nice bed. I want a nice, you know what I mean? I do think that you get used to that life's kind of normalities as you get older. I feel like, but that is the only way. You've got to be prepared to do one thing more than the next guy's prepared to do, whatever that is. Run naked down the corridor. If that's where it gets you the gig, that's what you have to do. I mean, I feel like...
So literally put your balls on the line, run naked.
But I mean, I kind of feel like, I don't know if I've got the motivation to start again like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm motivated. I think I do. I call it the cast of aspiration, the curse of aspiration. Like I totally aspire to the next thing. I'm never satisfied. I want the next. I want the biggest thing I can get my hands on.
Yep.
I always felt like in the UK, in the football leagues, right? You've got the Premier League, you get the First Division, Second Division, Third Division, and I've always considered myself like a First Division composer. I never felt I've ever been in the Premier League, and I never felt like I've ever got that high. And so I constantly aspire to be a Premier League composer, even though I'm not convinced that I'm ever going to get there, but that's what I aspire to do, and I can't let it go. It's a curse. I kind of feel like, I think most creative types do feel like that. I'm never satisfied. I'm only ever 75% satisfied with any piece I've ever written. I can never get it to where I want it to be. I'm just not good enough. So I do feel like all that combination of all that stuff, you have to have the most unbelievable drive known to man or lady. I think you just have to. There's no way around it. And if you're not that motivated, you're not going to get there. Like You know, it's a guy that won't give in that might get the yes in the end. And it only takes one yes to change your life.
Yeah.
That's all it takes. You know, I feel like if you just won't give up, you still might not get there, but you got a better chance than the next guy that's thinking about giving up.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Well spoken. Well spoken. So, well, I think that running naked down the corridor is a perfect place to wrap.
Good option,
So you heard it here first, folks. So your advice from Grant is to shed your clothes and make a name for yourself. No, but yeah, I think that there's a lot in there that's great, and I think you're right that especially it's only getting harder to get through the noise, and personal connection is the way, and making those personal connections is also getting harder in the digital age where everyone's hiding behind their screens. So
one other point, like sometimes I hear the thing that people say the cream always rises to the top. I'm not convinced that happens. I think it can happen, but I still think just by being brilliant, you don't always get to the top or even get anywhere. People have to know you're there. You can be the best composer, gardener, whatever in the world, but if people don't know you exist. So you have to get yourself on just write music on YouTube, your website, you're not going to hear it. You have to get it has to be a vehicle for it, a movie, a TV, a short, or whatever, something.
Yeah, like the still on the cream, but there's a different one, something about like two mice fall into a bucket of cream, and the one mouse gives up, and the second mouse fights so hard and just like keeps trying to get out and turns it into butter, and then just walks out. And first of all, mice in your cream, gross. Second of all, I think that's kind of like a better analogy of like, it's not just you're not going to magically just rise to the top, which I think I was like believing when I was like a kid, and in my 20s that I'm inherently talented. In reality, you just gotta work your ass off and never stop.
Yeah. I think in some respects, I was slightly lucky because I had that staff career. So I got a steady job while people got to know my music. And so when I finally became freelance,
yep.
And I kind of feel like I sort of hit a little sweet spot, whereas people that were maybe 10 years old playing my games back then became people in dev companies and went, oh, let's get that bloke that I liked back then to write the tunes. That definitely can happen. So I think that by virtue of me just sticking around for 25 years, not giving up, I've got some work to do. So I don't feel like my case is a typical example, but I kind of feel like no one's case is a typical example. Everyone's got something that happened. There's a click point somewhere where something happened. They wrote something, someone heard it. There's one of those things where all the way along the line, something happens, and it might even not be in your control. But the harder you try, the more possibilities there are.
Yeah.
It's got to diverge, not converge, right? As you go through. I kind of feel like, yeah. I mean, I guess you could talk about this all day. I mean, I just feel like it's a hard thing.
Yeah, and it's not getting easier. So get out there and get to work, kids.
Especially for the old people.
Yeah. So, well, Grant, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today. I know people are going to really enjoy listening to this and getting some of that advice. And, I can't thank you enough. It's very generous of you to take an hour out of your day, and I'm sure that you're, probably a busy guy. So thanks again. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for asking. It's nice to be asked, have a bit of a,
yeah.
have a bit of a moan for an hour. It's great.